Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamlined Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Tonight we're talking about Calendly and we're talking about your availability. Now this applies to any scheduling tool, really. It doesn't just have to be Calendly, but we'll use that as an example here. And the situation we're talking about is you've got deadlines and you've put these on your calendar. Usually we like to put them as all-day appointments so they show up at the top there, which is super handy. But then sometimes that gets in the way of our availability, right? Calendly starts looking at those calendars, starts looking at those all-day appointments, sees that you're busy all day, and then won't schedule you for any appointments. So let's take a look at that because I've got a suggestion that I think is going to help here. When we look at our calendar, by the way, I am showing this on a Google Calendar, but please keep in mind that it's very similar in Outlook as well. So regardless of which software you're using, this same solution should apply. So we're looking at our calendar, and again, I've got a couple of deadlines up here at the top, and I've marked those as all-day appointments. And what happens is, depending on how your software is set up, whether it's Google or whether it's Outlook, sometimes when we make these all-day appointments, they're showing up as busy, right? And so what I could do is I could go behind myself and every time I make an all-day appointment, come in here and mark it as free, right? That is an option. Or if you can figure out the settings for Google or Outlook, you could go ahead and try and get them to make those default as to free. But that can be tricky as well and doesn't always work, frankly. And so instead, I've got another solution for you. I highly recommend that instead of getting a little messy with our calendar here, because here's the other thing that I see sometimes too, they don't want to show the whole day is busy, so we'll just make an appointment at like 7:30 a.m. because everyone knows I'm not really going to come in at 7:30 a.m., but that's where all the deadlines show up, or 3:15. That gets really messy because then it's really hard for me to distinguish my deadlines from my actual events, and I have to think about it a lot more. I have to analyze it a lot more, and that's just not going to work out for me. So instead, what I would highly recommend is that you create a separate and new deadline calendar. And so I'm going to show you how to do that because it's really not that hard and it can work really, really fantastically. So if we come up here to our settings, and again, it's a very similar process in Outlook as well. You can pull up those directions online. But we're going to come over to the settings, and over here where it says add calendar, we'll click on that, and we want to create a new calendar, right? We're not getting it from anywhere else. And I'm just simply going to call it deadlines, right? Simple enough. And I'm going to go ahead and create that calendar. And when I do, what you'll see here in a minute, now it looks like it's all set up for me. And in fact, I can see it right down here on my list of calendars. I can come and take a look at it, and I can share it just like I would share with any other calendar group or any other people. So that's easy. I just use it the same way I would all my other calendars. And what's going to happen is it's going to show up over here. So now I can start putting my deadlines on a deadline calendar. And I really like that because as you'll see here, I'm going to go ahead and change this from my calendar, my Daniel calendar, over to my deadlines calendar, right? I'm going to save that, and you know that it worked because it changed color right there. And we're going to go ahead and do that to this one as well and stick it on the deadline calendar. Now what happens is it doesn't matter if it's marked as free or busy or what the situation is going on there. Now I can go ahead and have it on a separate calendar so it's never going to interfere with my Calendly or my scheduling tool availability. By the way, if you're using Clio or some other some other practice management software, oftentimes when you make all-day appointments in there, you don't get the option as to whether or not it shows up free or busy on your Google or Outlook calendar, and that it might be synced to. So that can cause an issue as well, and that's when this really comes in handy. So I've got my deadlines now in a separate calendar. Now the brilliant thing about that, I think, is number one, I can go ahead and just look at my deadlines, just look at my appointments, or by clicking on the check here, I can just look at my deadlines. And of course, they're very easy to distinguish between each other because now they're in a different color and Outlook. And if I'm syncing this to Clio or any other practice management software, now I can view those calendars separate in there as well. And so I find this to be super, super easy to set up, super easy to view. It really makes that distinguishment very easy to make. And not to mention, now I can share these deadline calendars with other people, of course, or maybe it's the same people or maybe it's different people that I'm sharing my actual appointment calendar with, but it gives me that flexibility, which frankly I didn't have before. So it's really, really a nice way to distinguish those deadlines so that they're not hiding out in my calendar. A lot easier to see, a lot easier to keep up with. And so that's what I'd highly, highly recommend if you're struggling a bit with that availability in your scheduling tool. So thanks for joining us tonight. If you need help with this, call us up, Streamline Legal. Thanks so much. Talk to you guys soon.